Today we're doing section 4.2 day 2, and we're going to be talking about the properties of the unit circle. So first we're going to discuss the even and odd identities. Notice at the top of the paper in all capital letters and nice and bold is that you have to memorize all these identities. And the reason I didn't just simply have them typed up for you is that I think you writing them down helps you practice with the memorization of these. So our sine is an odd function, and the sine function says if you have a negative angle, you move the negative out front. It's the same thing as evaluating the angle as a positive, which means cosecant is also going to be the same. The negative goes out front. Cosine is what we call an even function because the negative gets dropped. That's true for secant as well. Oops. So the middle two are even functions. Then going back to tangent, we're back to being an odd function. So the negative goes out front. And same thing lastly for cotangent. Okay, so I kind of remembered that the middle two is the one that the negative gets dropped, the other four, the negative goes out front. So, have your unit circle handy. We're going to go ahead and try the next couple examples. So, they say find the exact value. So, notice when you look at your unit circle, there is no negative pi over 4, but we can use the even and odd identities. So, cosine is an even, so that is saying that this is the same exact thing as evaluating cosine of a pi over 4. And the coordinate for pi over 4 is root 2 over 2 over 2 over 2. And cosine is x over r, so the answer will be root 2 over 2. Number 2, negative goes out front because it's an odd identity, so we're going to evaluate, we're going to treat the angle as a positive. So using your unit circle, you're going to locate the coordinate. And the coordinate for 7 pi over 6 is a negative root 3 over 2 and a negative 1/2. So now we go back to evaluating the equation. So there's a negative out front already. That's from moving this negative out front. Then tangent of 7 pi over 6 is y over x. We have negative 1/2. Divided by negative root 3 over 2. So it can get a little confusing with all these negatives. So ultimately, I would say that a negative divided by a negative is a positive, but then that first negative still remains. So overall, my answer is going to be negative. We're going to keep change flip. So I have negative 1/2 times a 2 over root 3. 2's are canceling. I'm left with negative 1 over root 3. I rationalize it, and I get the answer of a negative root 3 over 3. And again, these identities are just put into place to help with the evaluating process and to make it a little bit easier. So some more identities is the reciprocal identity. So kind of touched on this the other day. The reciprocal identity says that sine is the same thing as 1 over cosecant. Cosine is the same thing as 1 over secant. And tangent is the same thing as 1 over cotangent. And then the other side is the same deal. So cosecant is 1 over sine. Secant is 1 over cosine. And cotangent is 1 over tangent. So those are our reciprocal identities. Lastly, we're going to discuss our quotient identities. And the quotient identity only applies to two trig functions, which is tangent and cotangent. So tangent is the same thing as saying sine divided by cosine, whereas cotangent is cosine over sine. So again, you will have to memorize these, so I'm definitely going to be quizzing you on all these identities tomorrow just to make sure that we have them memorized because they are very crucial for the next couple chapters in pre-calc.